Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and I think this video is gonna be a big one, as the title may suggest. And I want to point out that this isn't entirely known for sure, take it with a grain of salt. But I gotta tell you, a lot of big things have been happening today that some of you may not know about yet. I'll be divulging some of that in this video, that has sort of continually changed what I would be doing. Initially, this was supposed to be a Pokemon video, and I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do it with the information that came out throughout the day, because I continually learned more and more information has come out, and it's become a really big thing. I just got off a discussion with Nintendo Prime. We did a two-part discussion that will be coming out a little bit later into the day, both parts, so they'll be both linked in the description below. But I'm putting together this video to outline everything and to put it all together. So this is what's going on here. I think we have a good understanding of what Nintendo's 2021 fiscal year plan is. I think we're gonna know kind of when we're going to be getting Breath of the Wild 2, when we're going to be getting Splatoon 3, and when we're getting the Nintendo Switch Pro. And all of this information sort of came to light today, along with the news of Pokemon Legends Arceus coming up this January, and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl coming out in November. That's one of the three big things that happened today, the news of the Pokemon release dates. But it gets even crazier than that, because earlier today, I guess, like late this night that I'm recording now, we got a report from Bloomberg that the Switch Pro is coming this year, but not just like by holiday, but actually it's going to be releasing in either September or October apparently. And Nintendo might even announce it before E3. And that has huge implications. Perhaps Breath of the Wild 2 could be coming out alongside the Switch Pro, maybe in October. But the other crazy thing here is that I decided to speak to Samus Hunter earlier this day because I wasn't sure what was going on here. I was seeing maybe I could learn a little bit more, and Samus Hunter told me something kind of crazy. Apparently, Splatoon 3 is planned for the fiscal year. Now, Samus Hunter is a leaker that has been continually getting things right. You can check her Twitter page, check the pinned tweet. There is an image that compiles a whole bunch of things she has said that has come to fruition. In other words, this person's fairly credible. So the three big things that are kind of piecing everything together here, I think, is the news of Legends Arceus coming out this January and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl coming out in November, but also that Splatoon 3 may be a game coming out for this fiscal year by this March, and that a Switch Pro is coming out in either September or October as reported by Bloomberg, which has strong implications for maybe Breath of the Wild 2. So with all this in mind, I think we might have a really good understanding of what's going on with Nintendo's plan for their entire fiscal year, all the way through 2021 until March 2022. So we're going to be breaking that all down today. Now before we jump into things, let me very quickly talk about my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe. To get things started, let's break down the three big puzzle pieces that sort of came to light throughout the day. The first one being the public news that Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is coming out on November 19th, and that Pokemon Legends Arceus will be coming out January 28th, 2022. This is really interesting because I've always thought that the game would be coming out by the end of the fiscal year, March 2022. When they said early 2022, that's what it sort of screamed to me. But I'm now surprised to see it coming out even sooner, January 2022, leaving that March spot where we usually see some sort of big fiscal year ending game to come out, which has led a lot of people to believe that it will be Breath of the Wild 2. I thought that for a little bit at first as well. I even started talking with my friend earlier in the day, kind of working out how we might have to make dubious food for myself to eat and for it to be recorded so you all could see me being punished for being wrong about when Breath of the Wild 2 and the Switch Pro are coming out. But I needed more information, so I then went to Samus Hunter and I asked her a few different things. So let me go ahead and read you what that was. So I'll read you what I asked and then I'll read you what she said. I'm currently working on a video about the Pokemon release dates and what it says about the rest of Nintendo's plan. Basically, there are 3 games I'm looking at here: Gen 9 Pokemon, Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild 2. With Legends Arceus coming January, it leaves the March spot open. Do you think it's possible Splatoon 3 releases before the end of the fiscal year this March? This is what she said. For the next mainline Pokemon games after Legends, yes, they are planned for late 2022, likely a new gen looking how TPC wanted to release Legends as early as possible. Breath of the Wild 2 was initially planned as one of the last games for 2021, and I personally can see a December release, if the development goes well. For Splatoon 3, it's planned as an early 2022, so before the end of the fiscal year, like March is a strong possibility. Maybe something could shift if Breath of the Wild 2 gets delayed, but usually Nintendo doesn't like to shift fiscal years for its games. So this point isn't necessarily related to the video, but yes, because Legends Arceus is coming out this early in January, I feel like that does leave a lot more time, more of a window for us to maybe get the big holiday Generation 9 Pokemon game at the end of 2022. It makes sense. It's looking like Game Freak and Pokemon Company will be maintaining their 3-year pattern here. But again, it also leaves the opening for March, where a lot of people thought maybe Breath of the Wild 2 could slot in. However, here Samus Hunter's telling me that Splatoon 3 is going to be coming for the fiscal year if there are no delays. But the other interesting thing here is that if there are delays, Nintendo likes to sort of make sure that they fit still within the fiscal year. One great example is Animal Crossing New Horizons, that initially was supposed to come out in 2019, however it was delayed for March of 2020. And she also here expresses to me again that she still thinks 2021 is a possibility. She's speculating December. At the time I was also speculating maybe December, but also maybe October. Which now brings us to the final bit of big news. So we got the official news of the release dates, but then I also have this rumor leak coming from Samus Hunter, who has proven to be a very credible, reliable leaker, at least up to this point. But now we have this really late night report we got from Bloomberg. Bloomberg is a technology site that reports on a whole bunch of news, and this isn't some sort of rumor thing. This is an actual report, and they are reporting that the Switch Pro, or a more powerful Switch that will replace the normal Switch and will be more expensive with 4K capabilities and a better OLED screen, will be coming out in either September or October. So with that in mind, that really gives us a really good perspective of what's going on here. And apparently, it may even be announced ahead of E3. So it's all very interesting, because all of a sudden everything is starting to make a lot of sense. If Splatoon 3 is supposed to come out for the fiscal year, that makes tons of sense, because that would explain why Nintendo decided to show it off at the end of the February Nintendo Direct. That would explain why it's so far along based off the footage we've seen, where we actually got to see them actually create the character, why we actually got to see the hub world, why we actually got to see multiplayer battles. It's all sort of adding up, I think, especially when you consider the things that Samus Hunter has been telling us, that Splatoon 3 tournaments may be happening at E3 2021. If they're going to be having tournaments for Splatoon 3 at E3, that suggests that the game is very, very far along. But also, if there is going to be this Switch Pro and they're going to be showing it off before E3 so they can actually have games at E3 to showcase the capabilities of the Switch, that also makes sense. It would explain why the February Nintendo Direct was so weird, why it was so strange, and that they didn't actually show off anything for the second half of 2021, because they wanted to wait until the Switch Pro was ready so they can then highlight those games when they are coming out. And if we're getting a Switch Pro, then it makes tons of sense for Breath of the Wild 2 to come out in time for that, around maybe September or October. I'm thinking October because I feel like it does make sense for a big holiday game to come out then, and historically speaking, we have seen Zelda games come out with new hardware. Let's go back to Switch Lite, Link's Awakening Remake. Let's go back to the actual Nintendo Switch itself. That's when Breath of the Wild came out. Let's go back to the new Nintendo 3DS, Majora's Mask 3D. There is a pattern here, and it's now looking like Breath of the Wild 2 and the Switch Pro are lining up. We've seen a lot of rumors from Game Over Jesse suggesting that maybe localization is nearing completion. Maybe there's some truth to that here. Maybe Breath of the Wild 2 is ready. Development supposedly started in 2017. It is a sequel reusing the foundation of Breath of the Wild. We're returning to Hyrule. We had a story trailer back in 2019 suggesting the game was very far into development. It's all sort of coming together here. And when you take a look at 2019, there were a lot of Nintendo published games that came out throughout that time. They were sort of bunched together. At times it was more than one game per month. For example, in September when the Switch Lite came out, we also got Link's Awakening Remake and Dragon Quest XI's, which was published by Nintendo. Nintendo funded that game so they could basically build it almost from the ground up so it could run really well on Switch, and it is considered to be the definitive edition because of all of the extra content in there. It was a major release, and both those games came out in September. And there were a whole bunch of other games that came out around then as well. Daemon X Machina, Astral Chain, Fire Emblem 3 Houses not too long before, Mario Maker 2, Luigi's Mansion 3 came out in October, Pokemon Sword and Shield came out in November. It was a huge year. And now we might be seeing something very similar, except maybe even better. Because after July, well, we have August, we have September, we have October, November, and December. Then January, February, and March might also have some really great things as well. This is what I'm thinking. So, in August, that is the Metroid 35th anniversary. Maybe then we get the Metroid game that is supposedly coming really soon. So I could see an August release in celebration of the 35th anniversary. Maybe there's also some sort of Fortnite crossover with that Samus skin. Maybe there's also some sort of Monster Hunter crossover there as well. Maybe a playable or a monster Ridley that you can slay. That would be amazing. And on the note of perhaps Metroid content in Monster Hunter, maybe we also see Zelda content in Monster Hunter as well. That would be interesting. And I'll also mention the whole Skyward Sword amiibo thing. Maybe that will have some connectivity with Breath of the Wild too. Either way, I think we're going to be seeing Metroid at E3, and obviously I think Zelda's going to be at E3 as well. So maybe around August we see the Metroid game. But then what about September? Well, conceivably, maybe that's when we see this rumored Donkey Kong game, or maybe a new Mario Party game comes out around then, or maybe a new Fire Emblem. Admittedly, I don't know the full details yet, but we're getting kind of a pretty good outline here, because I feel like I could easily see Breath of the Wild 2 and the Switch Pro coming out Friday, October 29th, which, by the way, is my birthday, so that would be incredible. It would be so amazing if I ended up actually being right about my prediction for the Breath of the Wild 2 and Switch Pro to come out alongside of each other for this year, because if that happens, I do not have to actually eat the dubious food, which I was definitely debating having to do earlier this morning. If that happens, then 3 weeks later, November 19th, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl come out, and then maybe 3 weeks after that, we get another game in December, perhaps Bayonetta 3, or the Donkey Kong game we've been speculating on. Basically something that will be a good showcase, but also complimentary of Breath of the Wild 2 for the Switch Pro. And then going into January, we get Pokemon Legends Arceus. Then in February, I'm not sure what'll come out then, perhaps Prime Trilogy HD, or maybe Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD around then. And then in March, to close out the fiscal year, we get Splatoon 3. So some of that is speculative for sure, a lot of it is speculative. The only potential real leak here is the Switch Pro from Bloomberg and the Splatoon 3 thing, but when you consider those things and the Legends Arceus situation, maybe there's more going on here, maybe it's all sort of coming together and everything sort of starts to make a lot of sense. This could be huge. It's very exciting if even some of this is true. I'm thinking this might actually be the case. Could be wrong, of course. Take it with a grain of salt. Bloomberg is reporting on information that hasn't been officially confirmed by Nintendo yet. The Samus Hunter situation with Splatoon 3 is also a rumor, maybe a leak. We don't know for sure yet either. We will see once Nintendo actually announces things, hopefully really soon. And at the very least, we do know that Legends Arceus is coming out this January, and it still does leave an opening for something. Maybe Splatoon 3, maybe Breath of the Wild 2, maybe something else. Regardless, I am excited. This is some cool stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I definitely want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. So let me know. But also make sure to check out the discussion I'll be posting not too long after this one, as well as Nate's part of the discussion from Nintendo Prime. Both will be linked in the description below. But that's all for now, everyone. This is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.